Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Four Friends and a Book. My name is Chris Colson, and of course, I'm here with my friends Isaiah Tukes, Kimberly Lake, Laria Reed, and this book for the month of May, we are reading Sula by Miss Toni Morrison. So again, check this out. If you're new to the channel, tune in for the very first time. Four Friends and a Book is our monthly podcast series where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading together. So we meet here to discuss that book, to talk about it, and just kind of catch up with each other. So we like to consider ourselves a book club, book reviewers, mixed with just table talk amongst friends. So again, if you haven't already, please get caught up current with Four Friends and a Book podcast. Go check out our previous episodes, our books, our conversation, and our rants by Mr. Rant Man himself, Isaiah Tukes, who closes out our show each month with the rant, just speaking from his heart. So, all right, again, we are in the month of May, man. Look, I tell y'all, these months are really just flying by.
Yes,
it's crazy. We're like almost halfway through the year already. It's crazy. But in the month of May, you know, we just coming fresh off of Mother's Day, and reading a fairly fitting book. We are reading the book from the iconic Miss Toni Morrison. I mean, we just know her as an author, novelist, playwright, so many books, Pulitzer Prize winner, Nobel Prize for literature. You know, some of her books have, you know, made it to the big screen, notably for Beloved, which is the book that she won her Pulitzer Prize for. And so this month we are reading Sula, again by Miss Toni Morrison. So let's get into this book. Let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. Let's discuss it. All that good stuff. So kicking the show off with my favorite question. Y'all already know what it is. I ask it every episode. We lead the show in with this question. What did you think about this book? And if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be? And I'm coming to my big sis, Laria Reed, to kick us off this month.
Thank God.
I like to hear what everybody else is going to say first before I'm the first one.
This all on you, girl. Laria, what did you think about this book?
There you go,
rate it.
Oh,
what would that be?
Why do y'all do this to me? Okay, so all right. Look, I wasn't expecting to be first. I'm like, okay. So I listened to the book on Audible. And, you know, it starts out talking about Shadrach. So, you know, I'm like, okay. And I didn't normally I'll look at like what the book is about, you know, kind of the gist of it before I read it. But I didn't do that. So in my mind, when it started, I felt like Shadrach was going to be like a staple person through, you know, he was in the book, but he wasn't really in the book the way it was. So it kind of, how should I say, it kind of tricked me in the beginning because I was like, oh, this ain't got to really, I mean, it's got something to do with him, but it don't have nothing to do with him. Okay. Yeah, and then y'all know I love saying the Tyler Perry-ish stuff that happens. It just was very... Look, I'm trying to find it. I'm finding it. I mean, it's a short read. It was interesting. But I think my problem is I kind of compare even fiction to reality. And so I like more realistic things that can happen with a lot of the books that I like and that I give a 10 or a 9 or 8. I'm always like, oh, that was so realistic, you know, but I felt like the book had good points about friendship, good points about, but it just felt like it was so many, it was the bottom. But I couldn't connect all the way with it, if that makes sense. So I really wasn't like, and I know Toni Morrison is like a major writer. So I hate being like, oh,
come on with it.
But I really wasn't feeling it like that. But I will say it is well written. It is very descriptive. It wasn't as if I didn't know what was happening or I had room to guess, because she was very descriptive in everything that happened, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. It was like, you know, it was well written, but it didn't connect with me. And I understood what she was saying, but it was like, It was alright for me.
Okay.
And I hate saying that about her books because over and everybody's like Toni Morrison, and I'm like, but so I would give it on a scale of 1 to 10. I give it a 6.
Okay. Look, that was a little better than I was expecting. I thought you.
It was still a work of art. I try not to disrespect an artist or a writer, but at the same time, I'm talking about how it connected to me. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. I can. Well said, Loria. Well said. Look, I'm coming to Miss Kimberly Lake on this next. What did you think about this book? And if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be?
Okay, I'll come from just a little different angle than Loria. So, Toni Morrison is the author. I don't want to say I have beef with her, but I know over the years, like, I wouldn't say beef, but over the years, she's so hailed as a writer. So I remember being younger and I read like The Bluest Eye. I feel like she has a book, Tar Baby, Beloved, and I could just like never get into her as a writer. So I felt like, because I love to read, and it's like Toni Morrison, and like Loria said, Oprah's like Toni Morrison, everyone's like Toni Morrison.
Right.
So I could never really get, and I love fiction, so I could never really get into her like novels like that. So my angle coming into this is I'm comparing this book to the ones I read prior to her. So for me, Sula is the most enjoyable book I read of hers to me.
Okay.
So
I agree, Kim.
So
I agree. That is true.
I'm coming from that angle.
Yes.
I listened to it on Audible. She read it. Now I love listening to the stuff on Audible, and I love dramatic. So I would have liked if the characters were like not her, but like different characters reading it. I feel like that would have brought it more to life. But like Loria said, it's well written. It's a short novel, so you're not like wasting 18 hours of your life listening to it. And overall, I did like the story compared again to the other books I've read of hers. I thought I thought it was pretty good. Like when I was actually listening to it, I was like, I could see this being kind of like a little short film or movie, because it had that, like Loria said, that Tyler Perry drama in it. So I could see it being like a movie. So with that said, I actually would rate her book, it's between like a 6.5 and 7. And I'm doing that because I'm comparing it to her other books that I've read before. So I was like, oh, I enjoy this book. And I just always felt like the oddball out, because everybody just loves her books. And I was just like, I could never really connect to her as a writer. But brilliant woman, rest in peace. But 6.5 to 7.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting a range from Kimberly Lake over here. 6.5 to 7. All right, coming to my boy next, man. The wild card. Look, I'm actually kind of afraid. I heard that sigh coming from him already. So, Isaiah, man, what did you think about this book? 1 to 10, where did it fall?
Okay. Well, I also listened to it on Audible, and I guess for me, I couldn't barely even hear what she was saying on Audible. Like, it was just so low, and I had my AirPods to the
He
max.
ain't lying. No, it was low.
Yeah,
I had it pumping. I had it all the way to the top.
Now, granted, I was going through the airport when I was listening to it. So I'm like, I kept turning my AirPods. So I'm like, wait, I know she could talk louder than this. So a lot of the stuff when she was talking about the book, I had to keep going back to it because they were saying big highlights, and I think I was missing a lot of the stuff because I really couldn't hear what she was saying. Like, I don't think this book was for me at all. Like, I come from a whole different angle. Like, Blues of Eyes is one of my favorite books, but this one, I never heard of her. I never really heard of Sula. So, I went into it blindfolded, just trying to read the book, didn't even look at the review. So actually, when I listened to the book, I'm like, oh gosh, I could not connect to it. Like, you had so much going on, and it didn't lead into it. It just basically just left you there, that big highlight. And I didn't understand what was happening in this book. Maybe it was just me. I walked away just so confused. I didn't know what was going on. Maybe I wasn't paying close attention enough to the book. And like they say, Toni Morrison is a GOAT, and you don't really want to give bad reviews, but this was not it for me. Like, I don't know what was going on with this book. It just like a lot of the stuff that she was talking about, it wasn't bridging together for me. It was like it was just jumping from one thing to another one. I'm like, is it just me? Like, if I'm not getting it, but most of the time because I read a lot of books, so this Audible, like I had to make sure that I was keen into listening to her, but it was like so low, such in a low monotone. Like she just kept losing me a lot going on through this book. And you know, even though I'm just such a fan of hers, like, if I had to rate this book, I'd give it a 4. And that's a strong 4 because I love Blues of Eye.
He said, was it Toni, it'd be lower.
And that's a strong 4.
And that's a strong 4 because I love her other book. But this one just I could not connect to it at all. And I really did try, and I kept going back, you know, listening to it, just trying to make sure I didn't miss something, but I just missed the good writing.
Yeah, my boy said a strong 4. I ain't know a 4 could be strong, though.
Me
because I love her other book. I love her other book.
Oh
God. So good points by all of you guys, and honestly, this is kind of weird for me to say, especially amongst us here, because I'm kind of in agreement with Isaiah, man. This was kind of a weird one for me as well. I also listened on Audible, and similar to Isaiah, I was really questioning like myself. I think this may have been one of the times that Audible may have failed me somewhat. I kind of think maybe I should have read this book instead of listening to it. So to your point, it's like the reading of it was kind of low. The narration does jump so quickly, and I was going through the airport as well. So I was in the airport. I was getting on a plane, and I was like, well, all right, well, maybe I'm distracted. Like maybe I'm, yeah. I literally listened to this book twice. Like I went through it the first time, and it's like I'm confused. I went through it again, and it was a little better because I guess I picked up on stuff that I may have missed the first time, but it really didn't do it for me either. So again, Isaiah, The Bluest Eye, like I really enjoyed that book. Like I read that this year or last year. Really enjoyed that book. Of course, we know beloved Oprah, made it into a film, and so had some mixed reviews about the film adaptation, but still the story line, and again, just Toni Morrison just being iconic. This book did fall very flat for me, and again, I normally love like historical fictions and just kind of the history. You're talking about just the race relations. Them being in Medallion, Ohio, hearing about the peace women and they, man issues and Sula and Nell and just all the stuff that's going back and forth between them. Interesting story, but it was jumping around so much, and I was confused. I was questioning myself, similar to you, Isaiah. Like I thought it might have just been me. I was like, man, what's really going on? So I feel better hearing you say and expressing the same feelings I had. So yeah, this book didn't really do it for me either, man. If I had to rate it, yeah, like my boy said, a strong 4. I'm gonna say a strong 5. So and
I agree.
Just say a 5. It's a 5.
Yeah, it was a 5. It was a 5 for me. Like I was confused. The characters were jumping around a little too much, between the Deweys and Sula, her grandmama, like Chad Records. It was so much going on. I was thoroughly confused until the end. And then when I finally figured out what's going on, the book was over with. So
just how I felt when I finally figured out what was going on. Like when I made a connection with Sula and Nell, like it's over.
Oh, it's over with. This is it. It's done. I just like to point out that Chris and Isaiah had some small flexes because they were both listening in the airport. Right. And they couldn't hear well because they were in the airport and it was so noisy.
So it's traveling.
Yeah, as I was getting on the plane to go to Never Land. And I was in the airport as well, Isaiah. Y'all better fly.
Yeah, but look, the airport had me like I was second guessing everything. I was like, look, man, I should have stayed at home. Like I'm gonna have to do something else. But yeah, okay.
I wasn't
All right,
listening to
so
that in the airport. That was it was
yeah.
too confusing. I couldn't.
Those
You had to be
six
paying
hours.
attention. I had a little diagram. I was writing people's names down. Like, now who is that? Okay,
Who is
a
that?
little. Okay, let's go back. Yeah.
All right. So as we kind of mentioned, a whole bunch of characters in this book. I mean, so Sula is the kind of the main character in the book, which really, because the book was kind of weird. She becomes more the prominent figure towards the end. I mean, you hear about like Sula and Nell growing up, but it kind of leads with beginning with Shadrach and him being in the military or World War One or Two, whatever it was, and him coming back to Medallion and just kind of having some mental issues and just again kind of jumping around between Sula's mom, her grandmother, the Deweys, like it's just a whole bunch of people. But in the end, it was more so, I guess, kind of geared towards, I guess, Sula and her, I guess, almost being like a villain within the town. Like everyone looked at her somewhat differently. She was, I guess, somewhat outcast based on just kind of her thought process, her treatment of these men that she was entertaining within town, and just kind of her different approach about life. And so she was kind of, I guess, looked as an outcast, as a villain. Kind of want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions about that. Was she really like a bad person, like the antagonist of this book, or was she really just like maybe misunderstood or just so different from everyone else that people couldn't relate or understand her? So I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on, I guess, Sula as a person or as a character within this book. Was she really a villain? Was she just kind of misunderstood? Whatever that may be. And so coming to Ms. Lake on that one, what are your thoughts about Sula just in general as a person or a character within this book?
In general, I absolutely think she was a villain. When I was listening to it, I was like, I feel like she's like a sociopath or something, because she was like, if you can sit and watch your mom burn and be like, oh, I enjoyed that. Like, they gave me excitement. And you can sleep with your quote unquote best friend's man and have she had like no feelings and no emotions. So I was like, she's like a sociopath or something. And then when I know Nell at the end confronted her and she asked her like why, she was just like, I mean, I like basically I was bored. It didn't mean nothing. I didn't have no feelings, and she didn't feel bad about it. So yes, I think she was a villain. I know they're trying to paint like the overall thing with Toni Morrison, like she's trying to say like, Sula wasn't like the conventional woman that got married and how she was seen as an outcast in that sense, but she was still a bad person. Like you could be an outcast and like free spirit and all that stuff, but still treat people well. Correct. But she didn't treat anybody well. So I was like, she absolutely is a villain. I would never want to be her friend or a part of her life. I was just like, yeah, sociopath. No. So I think she is the villain that they believed her to be.
So you would not befriend Sula by any means?
I would not. No.
Sula in the streets.
Okay. So Isaiah, I guess kind of pulling that thread a little further. So what are your thoughts on Sula just as a person? Was she misunderstood? Was she truly an outcast in the town of Medallion? Was she the villain? Was she kind of just an angel in disguise? Like what's your thoughts, man?
At first, I thought she was misunderstood from her upbringing, but like Kim said, because you had a bad upbringing, don't mean you have to be a terrible person still growing up. And because her and Nell was such close friends, Nell was more respectable. She had a close relationship with her family. And Sula, on the other hand, Sula was in those streets, and Sula was just doing whatever she want to do and sleeping with whoever she want to sleep with. But I don't think I think she played the villain card to the best of her ability. I think Sula did whatever she wanted to do, even though, like I was saying earlier, like even though you had bad upbringing. You don't have to be a bad adult growing up. And like the things that she was doing, like how can you sit back and do that? And then the thing that I don't like about these books is like I get too invested in these people. I'm thinking these are real folks. I'm like these people don't have a moral compass. And how you get away with doing it? How you see your mom and like what is going on with you? I think she played that villain card real well. I had better hopes for Sula, but ultimately she was a terrible person.
Okay. So we got two terribles for Sula.
Yeah.
Laria, any thoughts on, I guess, Sula, just her character, look, would you be friends with Sula? Like, what are your thoughts on?
I almost said something else. No. Because Sula is ruthless, man. I'm
Right.
like, you see your grandmama jumping out a window trying to stop your mama from birthday. Like, what? And then it was the little boy that was that drowned or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, well, did she mean to do that? You know, like it was so much stuff that she did. And even with it was just one thing after another. Both of them, Kim and Isaiah said them both. You done slept with your best friend's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then try to rationalize it like it was supposed to, like I thought we was friends, so it didn't really matter. You know, like what? Just crazy. She is not a person that you would want to be friends with. And what I didn't like, and I guess maybe I took it a little personal, and I think Kim hinted on it about when and I read a synopsis about Toni Morrison trying to paint her as you don't have to be the traditional woman and that sort of thing. But does that mean I'm supposed to be just crazy and just sleep with people and do all kinds of like, no, she was so mean. That girl was demonic. Because I'm just like, who does the things that she does? And she was okay with it. And it's like she on her deathbed, like,
Right.
Right.
Like, ain't no remorse
I did it.
None of the stuff she did. Because normally when people on their deathbed, they start confessing and saying how they're sorry. She was a gangster to the end. She didn't care. So that let me know too, in the end, most people had remorse. She didn't. So anyway, yeah, she was a villain. Very much so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree with you guys as well. I kind of thought early on that she might have been just misunderstood because, again, kind of growing up in that time period. Again, kind of Toni Morrison does kind of interweave like some history into the book. So, like the colorism was a big thing at that point. So, very light, fair skin, her and Nell, and like just kind of those aspects can sometimes create like certain, I guess, mindsets, and you may feel even outcast just based on you're not really fitting in with everyone else. So as the child or the young person in Sula, I was like, all right, maybe she just kind of just misunderstood. But yeah, like her behaviors thereafter was like how do you justify this? And her and Nell had they was both kind of both kind of on the crazy spectrum to some degree. But Sula was like, she was just cutthroat, ruthless. Even to Laria's point, like her basically saying, look, if we was really friends, then you would get over me sleeping with your husband. Like,
right.
Like, if we really friends, you can overcome this. And like for her to even to say that was just, I don't know. I was in awe. Sula was a mess. Sula was a hot mess. She was doing her thing. So I definitely not traditional in any sense or any regard. So yeah, she was definitely somewhat of a villain or something. She definitely wasn't the normal woman or traditional woman in any sense of the matter. So, all right. So kind of let's dig a little deeper. Again, so many characters within this book. Laria kind of touched on it, like even Hannah, Eva, mother and grandmother to Sula, losing legs. You don't know what happened to the leg. Like we still trying to figure that out. Jumping out of windows, like being set on fire, just a whole bunch of stuff. Even Sula and Nell kind of, I guess, witnessing, the drowning of a little boy and like all this stuff is going on. Sula sleeping with Nell's husband, like in their kind of rocky relationship. Sula going off to college, coming back, just a whole bunch of stuff going on within this book. But like I said, the book did kind of center around that friendship of like Nell and Sula, kind of growing up together and being like kindred spirits and kind of very like-minded, like even to the point like they could kind of finish each other's sentences and stuff of that sort. And then, Sula goes off to college, comes back, Nell has gotten married, has a husband, all this different stuff. But were you guys, I guess, kind of even rooting for their relationship, to kind of, again, Nell and Sula's relationship, even though it was like, I guess, somewhat complicated? Like, were you anticipating them to actually have like a normal, like, I guess, reuniting of friendship or rekindling of that friendship? Like, what were your thoughts as we was on this roller coaster of just kind of journey of like Nell and Sula and how they were kind of on this roller coaster of emotions and activities, really, as they were growing up in Medallion, Ohio? So, Isaiah, any thoughts or opinions about, I guess, kind of their interactions or their relationship as friends? Like, were you rooting for them to kind of be able to work things out? Were you like, this is just a hot mess? Like, it's crazy? Like, what were your thoughts about kind of their friendship and their reuniting, as Sula came back to town and even kind of on her deathbed as well?
Right. Well, Sula just a terrible person. That you can't hide that. And sometimes with friendship, you got to just cut these people off. Like, you mean well, but I mean well for you over there. You can't come and you can't come making my life more complicated. Like, if you consider Nell even a good friend, why would you even take the chance even sleeping with this lady's husband? Like, come on, you showed your cards who you was from at that point as well too. And and she pounced on Nell hard because she know Nell was a good person. Even though the way you and Nell grow up, Nell still had a good heart. She came from a good family and she was trying to do good things in life. But Sula only cared about Sula, and Sula was in those streets. Sula did whatever she wanted to do. And even though she slept with a lot of people from reading the book, I think a lot of people judge her for that. Some people want to be that free spirit, but I don't think they're free spirit. I just think they're just being terrible. I don't want to. I just want to keep
you
it
about to say
PG-13.
they want
to keep it PG-13.
I know. Don't want to get our ratings on up.
I'm good.
This ain't a church show. I don't want to hold
my church finger up real quick. No. And I think Sula could have been a good person. Like, Sula's one of those people you got to cut out. I was not rooting for their friendship to rekindle. There's somebody you should have cut off a long time ago. I think glad that Nell moved on with her life and tried to do better. But Sula, just leave her where she's at. Yeah, I would have cut that friendship off a long time ago. My childhood.
Yeah, Kim, any thoughts on, I guess, kind of their friendship? Were you kind of rooting for Nell or Sula? Like, what were your thoughts about them kind of reuniting and how their journey of like friendship was?
Actually, I kind of felt like Isaiah in a sense, like, because in the book it kind of paints it like, again, Sula's the villain and Nell is like the calm one and all this stuff. But the old saying says birds of a feather flock together. And I remember the ending when she went to see Eva in the nursing home, and Eva was like, you watched that boy drown too. And then when Nell thought about it, she was excited when she saw Sula had let him go. She's like, yeah, I was excited like when he went under the water. So they were like the same person, but Nell just got it like not beat out of her, but the way she was raised, it was kind of subdued in her. So I think they, like Eva said, y'all were like the same person. I think if she was raised like Sula, she would be just as crazy and out there. So in the end, at first I felt like, she slept with Nell's man, of course, so that they already took me off. So I was like, oh, I hope Sula, like when she died and stuff, I felt, a little revenge and all that stuff. But after she was in the Eva, I was like, it actually changed my view on Nell as an overall. And I was like, they are like birds of a feather flock together. So in the end, and then at the end, she's like crying about Sula. He's screaming in the cemetery about her because of their connection, how they were. So by the end of the book, I was not rooting for their friendship at all. I was like, what? Y'all just alike. So I just felt nothing for Nell or Sula by the end of the book. Right. So I did not root for either one.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying.
Yeah, because I think even like Sula questioned Nell as far as saying like, how do you know you a good person or a good friend? Like, how do you, like, what makes you good? And so it was this weird dynamic where they were kind of both very much similar, but had like uniqueness about themselves as well. I think Sula was just kind of in your face. I think Nell was more, more reserved. But I think they both had some levels of craziness or just something that was not normal with them. So, Laria, any thoughts on, I guess, their friendship, or you kind of rooting for it to work out? You know, them kind of rekindling their friendship, they're reuniting even in the early years. Like, whose side were you on? Were you on team Nell or team Sula? Like, what were your thoughts?
I was rooting for Nell not to talk to Sula no more, and I was trying to understand why they were still. I'm just like, I mean, at some point, y'all done witnessed a murder, y'all done went through all this stuff, so y'all done trauma bonded together.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so how long are we gonna keep doing this?
Right.
And then this woman goes sleep with your husband, and then you like, okay, so Sula, like what? Like we still talking? You know, that's why I was like, I didn't expect the book to go. I was hoping it went in a realistic turn, but that just was, it was like, what? So that's my thought on that. I just did not even think that should have been a rekindled anything until maybe they was 90 or 100 years old and they decided to talk about it. But I mean, how realistic is it for a woman to talk to another woman after she slept with her husband? Your husband? No.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So look, we read this book this month, Sula by Miss Toni Morrison. Again, renowned author, novelist, playwright. Yeah, but Sula didn't really, I don't think Sula did it for us on this month. But definitely check out the book for yourself. If you did read it, definitely let us know in the comments what you thought about it. We would love to hear your thoughts and also your rating as well. So look, drop that right now, wherever you are. Let us know what you thought about Sula by Miss Toni Morrison. Again, like, rest in peace. Very, well-known author. Some other great works. Like I said, The Bluest Eye. Like I really enjoyed that book. This one just, I don't think it did it for any of us. So Kim said, look, her 6.5 to 7, but the rest of us, we was like, But definitely check it out. Let us know what you think about it. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it.
Right.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Look, we don't only read books over here on Four Friends, but we like to have topics about things that may be going on within our our city, our state, our country, the world as a whole, just current events, in politics, hot topics, whatever it may be. We like to just kind of catch up with each other. It's on this more on just a friend level. So look, still a lot going on, especially within the United States. I mean, we still
every day, every single day.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. We still battling these tariffs, and trying to figure out how this stuff going to impact us. Like, we still dealing with the cost of goods, these eggs, everything's still going up now. Also, I mean, something fairly recent, we got these South African refugees, the Afrikans from South Africa that have now they kind of made it to the United States. They've kind of got some asylum from that country of South Africa to now be received within the United States. And so just a whole bunch of stuff just really going on. Really just going to open up the floor for you guys to kind of talk about whatever you may be feeling as far as what's the current state of everything that's going on right now, whether it's the tariffs or these refugees. Just want to get your thoughts and opinions about that. Like, I'm coming to my good brother, like our local politician over here.
Right.
Get your thoughts and opinions about some of the stuff that's going on right now.
Let's talk about these refugees, as they say. You know, this administration falsely claimed that these white South Africans came here because they was being killed for their farmland, like, which we all know is not true. Sometimes we have to pick up these history books that they're trying to actually get out of our schools, and we'll know that this history is that they passed this act in 1913 that these white South Africans tried to actually not tried to, they seized the land from these black Africans. Back in the day, I think they took 93% and gave black people 7%. Mind you, it was only a shorthand of white people that actually made up the population in South Africa. So that meaning that they had all this land, then they had all these black people living in this small area, and they wouldn't let them move to know what they call white areas in South Africa, which they even started. They didn't even start. They stole the land from these people. So today, 2025, they come here looking for refugee, saying that they're being killed. By who? And if anybody else would have done this, their citizenship would have actually been revoked from their native country of doing this and lying, saying that you're being killed, in which we know that's not true. And I remember on a widescreen TV when the people of Haiti tried to come here, what happened to them? They were stopped on horses and whips because they was not allowed in this country. And it's so wild that how they do black descendants compared to other people. They let Afghans come here. They let white South Africans come here. But when it comes to black descendants, it looks like those tables are turned really quickly. And we saw on a whole screen TV how this administration is actually keep doing day to day. Like, you know, it just crazy. Now we have to listen to white South Africans saying they need refugee. Come on, y'all have all the land. Y'all can build it up however you want to. Y'all just don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But they're just my take. You do whatever you want with that information.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good. And it is weird because, like, so, you know, again, I went to South Africa a few years ago, and it was one of my favorite trips. But you hear about the apartheid movement, where, as you mentioned, you have a minority group of people, again, the white Africans of South Africa, that become the ruling class of the entire country, even though they're the minority. And you had this legalized segregation with apartheid, where you were doing all these things, all the other black and Indian or people of mixed race or what they call colored people within that country. And now that after all this time that they've lost, you know, their power and influence, even though they still have white only townships and areas within the country, like now they feel like they're being oppressed, and now they feel like, you know, they're being ostracized, and like now they're looking for asylum in other countries. It's just very weird to me that the people that inflicted so much pain and had so much hatred towards everyone else within that country is now asking for help and assistance because of a problem they really created of ostracizing, you know, black and brown people in that country. And now they feel like they're outcasts because they are the minority, even though they were always the minority within the country. So it's weird and it's crazy. And to your point, how we here in the United States determine who we will let in or how we will handle our, you know, immigration process, it doesn't seem to be consistent. It doesn't seem to be fair. So it is kind of weird to even see how this is playing out right now. It's just crazy. So Laria, Kim, any thoughts on that? Tariffs, politics, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but what do you guys' thoughts and opinions on some of this stuff that's going on right now?
I'll say,
go ahead, Kim.
Piggyback off you on that. I just think, it was just crazy how it just seems like the, immigration overall, the whole message is like, we got to stop immigrants from coming in. It's like, slow it down, all this stuff. But all of a sudden, like the door just flew wide open. It's like, we got to get them here. It's like, okay, I didn't know it was that much of an emergency situation. But I want to touch on the whole tariff thing because, being a TikTok watcher, it was just interesting to see after the first, when it was like 124% on, tariffs, and then people started doing all this online ordering, and then they would post TikToks like, hey, my order was like $200, but the tariffs on it was like $400 some. So my order is $600 some. So there, people were leaving their packages in the mail, like not picking them back up. One lady was like, I thought it was a joke when the UPS. She thought she was getting scammed because they're like, you owe 1,000 something like $1,100 for your package. She was like, I thought it was a scam. But then she came home and saw the UPS sticker on her door, and she was like, for my order. So she was like, I'm not picking it up. It's staying there. So
return the sender.
Right. So of course now they're like, it's on a 90-day pause down, I guess to 30%, which it didn't have to be to that anyway. Cause I'm like, overall, like nobody manufactures like China in the world. We already can't compete anyway. So I'm just like, I feel like this was not needed, or there was no point to it. It's like creating a problem, then try to solve a problem you created. But anyway, so those two things. And also touching on the museum, in the Black Museum, African American Museum in DC, I was reading an article about how, like, Trump wanted them to go through and see if there's anything that was kind of disparaging against U.S. history, and if it's something like that, like those things need to be taken out. And I'm like, that's what the country was built on. History is history. I mean, they came here and slaughtered everybody here, so that is what the history was of the country. So it's no point in trying to, I guess, whitewash it or make it feel better. So those things just were hitting me this week.
Yeah, that's good. And it's still weird that there seems to be different rules when it comes to different people. And I think that's the thing that's always been a problem for us within this country, especially among Black, Americans. Like, why do the things keep changing when it comes to us? So, Loretta, any thoughts or opinions on just kind of the current state of everything that's going on? Whether it's the tariffs, whitewashing of history, these refugees that are coming in, and like just a whole bunch. What are your thoughts right now?
My thoughts are, I'm a part of the 92% that didn't vote for this, and I'm learning new line dances.
Boots on the ground.
There's mental health, self-care.
It's exhausting. I read it, I see it. What can I do?
Self-care.
I'm just over it at this point. We got 3 more years of this mess. So, when's the next time to vote? Because I mean, it's like if you ingest this stuff over and over and over.
That's true.
And you don't have the personality for that, because I don't have the personality for high negativity over and over and over. So I have to look at it, see it. Okay, that's what's happening. Can I change it? No. What can I do? Nothing right now. This man signing executive orders like he's signing for receipts at Target or something, which is another place that I can't go to because I'm mad at them because they broke up with me in January by acting up with the DEI. So I can't even do my Target run to walk up and down the aisle and buy what I'm not supposed to buy. I'm just like, I got to get me an outlet. So I started doing I really have started learning line dances on YouTube.
Okay.
So,
nice.
Anyway, but that's where I am. I need to get me a shirt that says 92% because that's where I'm at.
92%.
We wouldn't be in this situation if the 92% was able to do what we needed to do to get things done. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
And I think that's kind of the common theme right now. Like Black people, like, look, hey, y'all got to fix this. Like we've been fighting, we've been marching, we've been trying to figure this stuff out for a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, it's y'all turn. We done had enough. We doing other stuff out here. We doing trail rides, doing these line dances.
We done.
Yeah.
We on pause for right now. I mean, we didn't. The majority of us did not vote for that. So at this point, the people who are of the majority need to come together and say enough is enough, and they need to check this because we don't have the numbers to do it. So that's where I am.
I'm in my quiet era.
I'm in my soft girl era.
Good. All right, good conversation. Like I said, we like to check up on y'all, man, see what's going on amongst the friends here for Friends in the Book. So just read the book, Sula. Just had a great conversation. And you already know what time it is now. Our favorite segment of the show. Wouldn't be a show without it, which we entitle The Rants. Coming to none other than my good brother Isaiah Tukes, where we give him 60 seconds to kind of speak from the heart. Whatever's on his mind, whatever he's feeling at that moment, that time. We don't debate it. We don't contest it. So, brother, once again, the floor is yours. 60 seconds starting now. Go.
Let's discuss Shedeur Sanders. I think most of us believe that he was going to go top 5 in the NFL draft. And not only did he not go top 5, he didn't go the second, the third, or the fourth round either. Cleveland ended up taking him in the 5th round. And even if Cleveland took him, they didn't seem to be that happy. They say it's his attitude. Team says he had a bad interview. Then they clarified that he wasn't disrespectful or arrogant. They just felt, and I'm quoting verbatim, that he believed too much of himself. Let that sink in. His biggest crime is that he believed in himself too much to allow negative opinions to affect him. And this is what several folks are calling character issues. Remember, the NFL is an entertainment business. They downplayed the Sanders name. Now they want to use those same names to drive up viewerships. The NFL tried to humble Shedeur by letting him sit to the 5th round, and now they want to profit from his popularity. I don't think this whole he has an attitude, because I've seen other quarterbacks come into this league with a whole lot of confidence. But nepotism and confidence always looks different when you're black. And that's that on that.
Yeah, bro, that's good.
Wholeheartedly agree.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, even throughout the whole process, like it's like it was like Kaepernick all over again. I just feel like it was a you know a collective effort from the NFL to try to prove a point. And so, but look, we still rooting for Shedeur. We still rooting for Deion. Still rooting for the whole Sanders family, Shiloh as well. Or just wishing them guys well, whatever they do in the future. So
he gonna
do rant, my brother. Good rant. All right. So again, look, just had some great conversation over here about the book of the month of May, Sula by Miss Toni Morrison. Look, definitely check that out and let us know what your thoughts are on that. Even on our kind of just topics of discussing, tariffs and whitewashing of history, the immigration and refugee status. Let us know as well what your thoughts and opinions are on that. And my brother just killed the rant for this month. So Isaiah, please tell our audience what we have coming up next here on Four Friends in a Book podcast.
Hey guys, before we let you go, do you not know that this has been season 5? Can you believe we almost at the end of season 5 right here? In next episode, we're actually going to be doing the best of our highlights, the best of these rants, and you do not want to miss it. L'Real, please let the viewers know when they can tune in.
You can catch us every third Thursday, wherever you're watching us from right now. So that could be all of the places that Kim is going to tell you.
You like all the places. If you're on social media, make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave us a comment, and wherever you listen to our podcast, make sure to leave us a review there and let us know how you enjoy the show.
Absolutely. And guys, we're also looking for any book recommendations, any topics, anything that you want us to talk about here on Four Friends. We welcome that feedback and those inputs. So look, hit us up, man. Slide in our DMs, send us an email. Look, just holler at us here on Four Friends in the Book. Leave us a comment, whatever it may be. We would love to hear from you guys. And as always, let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow. Let's have a conversation right here on Four Friends in the Book. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.